this budget. And some of that would be returned at the end of the year, so I'm not sure on the numbers. For the sake of discussion, it could be a wash, and we could still be looking at another 200,000 next year. We could be looking at that much, I'm not sure.
Question for Joe, before you go on. Money that isn't spent, right, goes directly back into
Yes.
the stabilization, or does it go into free cash and then we have to make an October transfer?
It would go into free cash.
No, town meeting's language,
Was the language?
we adjusted the language of town meeting so that that would not happen.
Are we sure of that?
And if I'm not correct, then we need to do it for April town meeting.
Well, if we did the language in October, then that should be sufficient.
My understanding is that that was the language that we did. If it's not correct language, then we need to do it in April to make sure that happens.
Well, and
But we could always get it back through the free cash.
I understand, that's why I raised the question, is it something we need to be paying attention to and
Yes.
make a move in October, or is it something that can be done automatically? Let's get that answered then.
I
And
think
if
the-
there is a way of doing it with the language, fine, then obviously let's fix it.
Joe, my understanding in this past October, the language was correct, that at the end of this year, the money automatically goes. Now, if I stand corrected here,
If we put in, I don't recall the exact wording, but if we did word it that way, then we're fine.
I think it needs to be double checked, and I think if we can correct it, we should correct it for the current fiscal year and do it in April.
right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. That, because that feeds the ability to offset the budget for another 1 to 2 more years after this year.
Right.
Now, then
Do we
ultimately,
want to
See,
right.
yeah.
And then ultimately, if you want the rate stabilized,
Yeah,
And-
but just in order to keep things stable and keep the rates stable, we need to do it, because that'll extend the period of time.
then it also gives you that extra time then to do 1 or 2 things. You want to stay with the current program, then, and you want the $180 to continue flat, then it's gonna have to go back to taxation. Or do you ultimately want to look at it as all of it back on taxation? You may need an override to do that.
But
If
we
you-
still, I mean, we're not gonna make that decision here tonight.
No,
this-
but those are just
this
looking
morning,
out.
but-
And flipping then, of course, that gives you that window of 2 years or so to flip to see if you want to go with this, with the programs such as this, the hybrid. Now, just to spend a little time on the hybrid, I know I make reference to comments that some of you folks have made. Joe on the facilities, on the garage, you on certain things, and Stephen on some things. Not to slight you, Mike, but these conversations have been going on for a lot of years. And,
Feel free to inject yourself. Come up with some new idea.
Say something.
He's more green now, he's
But-
the green machine.
Steve, at the last meeting, Steve O'Leary, mentioned, well, look at 2009. You're gonna pay $127 flat fee. I don't believe a lot of people still understand that if we go pay as you throw, they're gonna have to pay $127 a year just for the truck to go by. If you don't pick up a thing, it's for the service of having the truck go by. And then they're gonna pay $1.75, not $1.51 that we originally have, because we didn't know what the price per bags were. We had to get a hold of a vendor. It's 20 cents a bag to produce a 33-gallon bag. It's 14 cents a bag to produce a 15-gallon bag. So if we offered, we could offer 2 bags. But if you do the math, and you put out even one small bag a week, one small bag a week would be 5 cents left. It could be $1.70 or $1.75, depending, $1.65, depending. But if you do the math at 127 plus that amount,
218.
$218 a year as opposed to 180. Now, the reason that's higher, there's no offset here for stabilization. You're not applying stabilization. So you could apply stabilization on the 127 rate to get that down. But guess what? You're still gonna pay 180. there's no saving.
For the low-end user, there is.
The low-end user,
There's
there's
no
no saving. Right. Even if they put out one 15-gallon bag, the 15-gallon is the liner that you put in your rubbish, the white liner. That's about a 15-gallon bag.
But the reason for that is that in this proposal, we're taking all of the cost of trash off of the tax roll.
Right.
Where right now, a portion of it is on the tax roll.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Well, as I said, we're not gonna make a decision this morning on this issue, but it's clear that, there are a number of options, and each option has its advantages and its disadvantages.
Oh, yes.
And it's not a simple solution.
It's not a simple solution. I don't believe the board needs to rush into it. If we had a program that was kind of in chaos, I would have been at you months ago to say, let's change it and be ready for July 1st. I don't believe you need to be in a hurry. Finance agrees with us from their end. Just take your time and keep it on the table. I will ask you, though, if you stay with the status quo, that you consider two things effective July 1st. 5-bag limit. Put a bag limit on the program. We've got too many households that are, we believe, people are coming in out of town, they have family, they have relatives, and they're adding rubbish to North Readings because we have no bag limit. 5 bags per household per week. A lot of bags.
What if somebody has typically more than 5 bags a week? Is there a way around it for them? Do they pay, how do they get their trash picked up?
Pardon? Right now?
No, I'm saying if you implemented a limit program.
And what's the definition of a bag? I mean, I use a trash barrel. I mean, I put my kitchen trash bags,
The 33-gallon bag.
but how big is my barrel? What's a normal barrel, trash barrel? You know,
33. Yeah, how many bags can you get in it, Steve? How many 33-gallon bags can you get into?
Well, when I take my sons and I stand them on it and I push it down.
It's.
But you know what?
it's-
This is for discussion. Most towns are, if they have a bag limit, they're somewhere between 4 and 6. So I just said 5 as an average.
Now, my question was this, is if there is a family in town that is typically needs 7 bags a week, right? And we put a limit on it, how do they dispose of the rest of the trash? They bring it down to town hall and
Well,
throw it in the dumpster?
if their neighbor puts out 2, I'd say they
Yeah,
ask
right,
their
yeah.
neighbor if
yeah,
they could put 2
yeah,
on
okay,
their
I
curb.
understand that. I'm just wondering, would there
serious.
be,
I'm serious too, that happens to me.
would there be a method?
You have that many bags, huh? No, my neighbor puts his.
Would there be a method to, for someone to
Sure.
purchase additional capacity? That's my
I
question.
mean, there could be a method just by having the board saying, hey, we have these conditions associated with pickup. 5-bag minimum or a maximum. However, we can waive it per household if certain conditions exist. or something like that. These people can just come to DPW and say, whatever. Or you could say for another, see, I'd be concerned about paying something and then opening a door for, all of a sudden now there's 12 and 13 bags a week there. I just,
All right.
the whole idea is,
I didn't want to belabor the discussion.
the whole idea is to keep people from out of town bringing rubbish in. The other item I'd ask you to consider is, Joe, bulky items. And he and I disagree. I think you should have people be paying for all bulky items. They put a couch, I gotta tell you, Joe Tassoni has a new living room. So over 5 weeks.
He's brought it all to
basically
town?
got it all to curb.
Now we know what the problem is.
But think of it, in 5 weeks, he's got all the old furniture picked up on the town tab, town tonnage, and he enjoys his new furniture. I mean, he should be paying, the idea of one bulky item a week, to me, is nonsense. I know you disagree.
Guess you have to define a bulky item,
disagree
too,
too.
at this
Well,
point.
and part of my reason,
okay.
part of my reason for disagreeing is, and no disrespect to this neighborhood, Willow Street will look like Jordan's basement in a matter of a month. because, I'm not saying my couch would go there, but my neighbors probably would. It's just the same as, you know, raising the fees and the trash going in the.
We will reserve an entire evening for this discussion.
I would just, and I know the recycling committee, as much as they want to see pay-as-you-throw implemented, they at least would support those two recommendations that I'm bringing. So I'm not just speaking for myself. I know that that was important to them.
Okay.
All right?
Okay,
Water, you have your package.
I'm sorry, we have another question, Joe.
I just wanna add some financial information to what, Mr. Hanlon said. Through November, the receipts for trash fees are at 51%. So financially, as Dave says, it is working. We are collecting the money that has been budgeted, and through 5 months, which
Okay,
is
so
only
the
2 billing
collections
cycles.
are right. The question is, are we under our expenses based on those
Oh, I'm aware of
collections? And we are.
We're doing very well.
Yeah, the trash had been a problem historically, the revenue side, that's been taken care of.
What do you attribute to the change?
Growth. Our calculations are based on, I think it was 42 in change household, and we have more growth, and so there's 720,000 that we have been projecting. That's the number we've been using since we've established the program, and just by growth of the community.
That's on the revenue side. I'm talking about on the fact, on the trash, on the fee for tonnage. That's obviously not keeping up with the growth. It's less than what
Correct.
you might anticipate. So the question is, how do we account for the success of the program? Is it the word that's gotten out, or, I mean?
It's a combination of two things, yes. It's the increase, the tipping fee is increased is modest. The recycling committee has done really good work at constantly getting recycling into people's minds. It's the younger generation that's the people that are eventually gonna really make it all work anyway. And then the growth in numbers of the community.
Further questions on this? All right, let's move on to water.
Water, well, you're gonna have a presentation Monday on the capital and the rate. And you have it in your packet. You do have the water rate hearing information in your package.
Yes.
I don't wanna get into a lot of depth on it. I just tell you that the Finance Committee has, we had a good meeting with the Finance Committee on it. They had some questions on some other alternatives that we could revisit to look at revenue side, and that'll be discussed Monday. That'll all come out Monday. But right now, what we're recommending to the board Monday is the summer rate that you passed is just to make that now a year-round rate. So that's a tier 3 rate. And the people that are affected by that are the high-end users. Teradyne, as soon as in a day they're there. You got some high-end users.
So a lot of the local homeowner high-end users for the summer will not be impacted at all.
No,
in the
because they
winter.
won't be using the water, right. And then a 2% increase on the rates, so that's what you're gonna get. That's the bottom line, that's our recommendations. But there will be other discussions on some other alternatives of revenue rates. The cost drivers, of course, in water. What Mark does, Mark Clark, our utility superintendent, Mark does an 3-year, every year in his budget preparation, he does the last 3 years of average use of Andover to calculate what we expect from use of Andover. It's not quite as bad as trying to predict snow, but it's almost as bad because our weather can be so wet or so dry. Really have tremendous swings, and when it's really dry, we make a lot of money.
If we looked at cost of water from what we generate